Hey guys, welcome to the first Monday offline podcast. My name is Jason Vong.
And I am Danny, aka That One Camera Guy. And in today's episode, we're talking about YouTube, the stress of YouTube, and kind of where our careers have gone in the last few years on this platform. And
Down the drain.
down the drain. You know, we are using a different platform style this time around. We're not doing an online one, but an offline one. But we hope you enjoy this podcast. And don't forget to drop a like or subscribe wherever you are and whatever platform this might be on. Enjoy. But how you been, man? How's it going?
I'm good, dude. I kind of woke up today and was like, wow, we're not doing Monday Live today. What a strange feeling.
I woke up. I was just like, okay, well, I guess we're not doing anything today. That's great. I can take a break.
It's less stress. I was looking forward to this. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I'm just like, okay, well, you know, I'm not sure exactly what it is we'll be talking about, but hopefully, you know, we'll have a very sort of organic conversation like we've had. But it's again, it also feels different. You know, even though we're trying to make this like casual, it's still I can't help but feel like we're still being watched. That makes any sense?
I guess so. Yeah. We've been at this for a while, so. But I get you.
But anyways, yes, you were asking how I'm doing.
Yeah. How is everything going?
It's all right, I guess. I've been feeling stressed again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I guess things are starting to ramp up. I don't know if it's. I know things are starting to wind down for you, right? Like with the graduation thing, and that's sort of like things that are like kind of done for you. You're kind of like off for the summer. Is that right?
Yes, and so I'm pretty ecstatic about that.
Nice. For me, I'm just like, okay, I think like because businesses and companies are starting to open up again. I feel like that we've been getting hit up by brands and you know, just sort of like, you know, there's work coming back.
That's good.
There's like, you know, obviously sort of embargoes and deadlines and all that. They're all coming back, and they're starting to everyone's just trying to get back into the game right now. And obviously they're hitting up, you know, different creators, influencers to kind of like, you know, start the conversation going about whatever new product is happening. So I guess I don't want to say we've accepted too much again, because that's a problem that I faced last year, where I just kind of took on too much on my plate, and then it just started to get overwhelming. But it was just more so like, okay, things are ramping up. You know, there's this anxiety and this uncertainty. It's just like, oh man, like what's going on? And you know, we have a couple of projects that we've picked up for this month, and this month is starting to wrap up. And I'm just trying to like, you know, wrap my mind around things, and you know, trying to embrace the workload that's about to sort of hit us, if that makes any sense.
So you're kind of so you've kind of got the agreements and contracts or whatever they might be kind of figured out at this point, and right now you're in that phase of we got to take action on those items very soon.
Yes, absolutely.
So
yeah, right? And again, it's not like there's a lot to do. It's just more like, wow, you know, it's we took a couple months off, and you know, time management is probably like my biggest weakness. So it's just like having a grip on the stuff and just making sure I'm doing them on time is just kind of a challenge right now.
I have a question for you, though. I was talking about time management. Would you when you were in high school or in school, would you characterize yourself as someone that was always on top of your work, or were you kind of a little bit of a procrastinator here and there? Like, how were you then in the past?
I'm definitely not an all-nighter. I'm someone who wouldn't wait till the last minute to get things done. I wouldn't pull an all-nighter for anything. So for me, like I would always try to get my work done either the day before or a couple of days before, so I have some buffer room in case I make a mistake on my essay or something, or there's something that I completely forgot. I at least have that one day of buffer to kind of like sort things out. But I mean, I'm still stressed about it, you know? Like I'm the type of person that stress a lot when it comes to getting things done. So I guess that's just more of like a mentality thing, which kind of keeps me on edge, which is probably a good thing. Like I would always turn in things on time and getting the work done, you know, be prepared and all that stuff.
Would it be more about is it a perfectionist issue that you're not happy or satisfied with whatever you're turning in or finalizing? Is that the issue why that happens?
Probably, yeah. I mean, like perfectionism always is, I guess, something that I always struggle with, trying to make things perfect, make sure I'm not like messing up anywhere. So yeah, I would say that.
I can. No, I can see that definitely for sure. Whenever we were hanging out over the summer that a couple years ago, and when you were working on all your reviews and stuff, I was like, my God, this guy is so meticulous about everything he's doing. He's like, okay, Danny, it needs to be exactly at this angle, exactly at the spot. No, you need to set the lens right here when I take the photograph. And I was like, man, this guy is really taking this crap really seriously. And at the time, I was just like, you know what, dude, it's fine. It's just a picture. Just set it up, take it. It's like, no, it needs to be like this. But I get it. You know, you want that particular look. You want that quality about what you do. I'm all for that. I totally get what you're going for.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, and you're just like, yeah, you know, Jason, you're so meticulous. But then I just always feel like I'm not meticulous enough. I just feel like there's other creators out there or other people out there that are just like 100 times more meticulous than I am. So I'm just like, in a sense, sometimes I feel like I'm underperforming. A lot of times, it's just like I feel like I could have done better. Like when you were hanging out with me over the summer, when you were just talking about, right? I just feel like I was a lot more uptight then. And I guess like towards the end of last year, I became like more and more lax. Like I'm just like whatever. Like this doesn't have to be too perfect. Doesn't have to be all that stuff. I mean, it still drives me insane. But then like I'm letting it go. Like I'm starting to let a lot of things go. If that makes any sense.
I get you. But I'm still sure you're trying to keep up that quality, so that's really important to you, especially since you're also working with companies as well.
Yeah.
So that imagery is really important in terms of what you're trying to produce. So I feel that's why when I was talking about this within my videos, it's that pressure of having to like make the content for this particular company could be kind of challenging or kind of stressful because you want it to be good. You want it to perform well, and that's just like another layer of stress that, one, it's already stressful making the video sometimes, depending on what it is, and then two, you're gonna layer that with some sort of integration, and then three, it's gotta deliver, you know, and it has to deliver, and I can't imagine like day in, day out trying to, I mean, once you have a system, it's fine, but man, I would just feel the stress day in, day out with that.
Again, I'm someone that just hates disappointing people. Like I don't want to disappoint my audience. You know, I don't want to disappoint the brand. So it's just trying to like navigate through that middle ground where it's just like, okay, got to keep the brand happy. Got to make sure the views are there. You know, making sure it's engaging, as well as making sure like, hey, like I'm not selling out to my audience. You know, it's just like this is something that needs to be done to kind of keep the channel going. So it's always that fear of finding that middle ground for everybody, and that's something that stressed the crap out of me. You know, it's just like like I don't want to make it look like I'm just taking money for no reason. So I think this is a conversation that we've had a couple weeks ago that wasn't really on a recorded form of podcast, but it's just like I've been trying to shift my mentality to just sort of own it. Just be like, hey, if it's sponsor or if it's an advertisement, just make it abundantly clear. There's no reason to hide it. There's no reason to try to like make the integration organic, because at the end of the day, it's still sponsored. It's still an advertisement. So just kind of own up to it. So I just recently shot an integration and I just kind of played it up. I was like, look, this is an LED light, and this is an ad and this is what it does. And hey, thanks for watching, and just kind of like showing to the audience that's like, the money that we're taking from these brands and these sort of sponsorship kind of just goes back into funding the channel, whether it be through getting better gear, getting everything to be professional, like a lot more higher quality in terms of production quality is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, it's kind of it's the livelihood of your channel and also what you do. So I think it's also good that most people are I would imagine most people at this point are not offended necessarily by integrations anymore. Like, they're pretty used to it, in that sense. Like, it's not like an abnormal thing. Like, everyone hears a Squarespace integration or or a VPN integration, or like everyone's used to it already at this stage of the game to some degree. So, I think for me originally it was it was like a very apprehensive thing when I would see them in the beginning.
Yeah.
When it started showing up in the very early onset when these companies were reaching out to me, I'm like, what is this? What's going on here? But it's interesting. But like for me, like I said, it's just the stress. I just don't know if it's worth
Well,
worth
walk me through it. I mean, I feel like you and I kind of share that same stress. But walk me through it again, because I know you kind of brought it up in the video that you've made, that you talked about,
Right.
like, why you work off YouTube for a bit. And I know you kind of took on a couple of Squarespace deals. I mean, like, what went through your brain when you were accepting it, and what was it that
What was the first time they reached out to me? What's interesting was that I didn't know sort of this was probably like 3 years ago, 3.5
3
years
years
ago.
ago? No way. I feel like you
Yes,
were doing it
first
last year.
No, no,
Wow.
no. When they first reached out to me, they reached out to me twice. The first time was I think around 2017, 2018, and I didn't know what the hell to do. I didn't know what to price it because they were asking for a certain amount, and then I reached out to Manny. And I was asking Manny, I'm like, hey Manny, what do I do? You've been doing this whole thing for a while now.
What's
and he gave me
the
some-
secret number I should be getting?
He gave me some point. He suggested some things, and then I threw out some numbers to Squarespace and everything, and then they okayed the amount. I feel like I lowballed it, to be honest with you.
It's
But
okay.
they were totally okay with it, and so I was like, okay, great. Now I got to make the videos. And then the funny thing is, when they contacted me, it was one of those times when I had a lot of projects to do that I couldn't concentrate. Like I had a hard time this is my personal issue, is that I can't concentrate on multiple projects at once. It's really difficult to. I don't know if that's something you deal with.
Absolutely.
See, I can't do that. I'm a very focused person on one thing. So like right now I have to do that graduation video. I've been spending a lot of time I've been digging back to like 4 or 5 years worth of content, like tens of thousands of images, hundreds and hundreds of video clips, trying to put something together. And it's a pretty big project. Like it's really hard to distract my brain. Like my brain can only focus on one task. And that's typically what happens with me. It's like, so for me during that time frame, we're kind of wrapping up the year. I think we're towards the end of the school year for me. And so I had some other larger projects at work. And so it was hard for me to convince. It's weird. I don't know. Let me know if you have the same thing. It was really hard for me because I knew, okay, I need to have 2 videos for this month and then another 2 videos for another month or something like that, whatever the agreement was. And it was hard to wrap my head around, okay, I have all this stuff I got to do to take care of for work, but I need to make this video for Squarespace. But since this is the first time I'm doing something with Squarespace, I needed to make it really good. That was the mindset that I had. I was like, okay, crap. I told them that my video is averaging X number of views. So they're going to expect something around that ballpark that I was telling them about. And so I was like, crap, what kind of content am I going to do? And I guess I overstressed the whole matter to the point where it crippled me. It 100% crippled me, and I just never ended up producing the videos. And I kind of delayed it with them, and I told them, hey, I couldn't get it done. But after a while, like I just said I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do the videos.
Yeah.
So it became a crippling issue. Not that I knew that I couldn't do it. It was more that I was overthinking things a little too much. And I thought if I didn't perform at that level that I thought I could produce, like when you have a really high performing video, you're like, okay, cool, maybe I can knock something out, make it a really good video. And then in your head, you're like, you're always second guessing everything, thinking that it's not going to work out. It's not going to do as well as you want it to do. And I think that's what ended up happening for me, that first rodeo with Squarespace. And, that didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. So.
But you did do one integration with Squarespace, right? From what I recall.
did only one integration. That was the second rodeo. So the second time they contacted me in 2019, I did that with the Canon 80D video, which did all right. But I still needed to do one more. But it was, again, another one of those situations where it landed in a time frame when I had a lot of large projects that I was doing at work. And I just couldn't. I was dealing with that same level of fear again, and it crept back up again. That was the issue. It was like it kept creeping up. It's not that. The funny thing is, this time I did try. Like I actually put the effort. Like I made that video. And I was like, okay, great, I got that one in, and I was in the process of making the second one already and putting that out. But I didn't feel like halfway through. I didn't feel like I was good enough, and so I kind of just scrapped the idea. It was like a tutorial video, or trying to demonstrate something, and I just said, nah, it's not working out. And I think I overthought the whole thing, and it just kind of fell through because of all the other stuff I was thinking about during that time frame. And then that's kind of when, that whole thing I was mentioning about how the YouTube thing kind of crept back up into my life, when I was trying to kind of put it into I was trying to put the whole YouTube thing on the side. And then because of the sponsorship thing, it literally hit me back in the face. Before that, I wasn't stressed until I got that request from Squarespace, and all of a sudden that stress came right back about the YouTube stuff. And I was just like, okay, this is exactly why. And I was thinking about it. I was like, this is exactly why I was, I was dreading all of this. It just kind of crept back in. But, that was the hard part. I don't know. I'm sure I could have handled it, and I was overthinking it. But, that's kind of what ended up happening. I didn't make the last video, and it just kind of got upset. I didn't stay in communication with them, and just broke it off. So
I guess just because like I don't have like a full-time job, like aside from the whole YouTube thing. So like you said, it's kind of like my livelihood, and I 100% agree with everything you said, because I'm always feeling the same way. It's just like, I also have the two, sort of the Squarespace integration. I also have like other integrations as well. So I'm at every month I'm locked into 4 videos. So it's just like 4 videos this month, 4 video next month, and the following month another 4 videos. And if we do take on like another sort of like brand deal or another sponsorship, that could rack up to like 5 or 6, and it is stressful. It's incredibly stressful. Like, again, I feel like you and I kind of agree that we want to do the best that we could for the brands that we're working with, because we want to make them happy, and we also want to make sure that it's a great video and it needs to be hit out of the park. So a lot of what sort of the companies that I work with sort of expects almost like 30,000 views per video, minimum, at least, to make it worth their while, right? And I was stressing about that, and all throughout 2019, I was just like pumping, videos, making sure I'm tying all these integrations to videos that I know are going to be bangers. And a lot of times, the numbers either hit their mark, barely hits the mark, or overshoots the mark, which is gret. There's nothing wrong with that. But when there is one video where it's like, I'm just like 5,000 views away, or even worse, 10,000 views away, I panic. I'm just like, shoot, like I gotta, what am I gonna do? Like, are they gonna cancel on me? I'm like, freaking out. I'm just like,
Have you ever had a situation where a company that you're doing the integration for, Jason, that you don't meet the numbers? Do they get on your case about it, or is it, they're cool with it and they just expect you to do better next time?
Surprisingly, I don't think I can recall at any point a brand was just like, oh, you didn't hit your numbers. We never had that conversation, to be completely honest with you. Like I can tell you.
Okay.
I can tell you like this past year, maybe at least 5 or 6 videos didn't hit their marks, and I wouldn't say completely cool with it, but like I said, I'm starting to let that go. It's just like, like whatever. I'm sort of shifting that mentality to be like, okay, number one, I got to make sure I'm making the videos that I want to make first and foremost, right? Because if it underperforms, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, at least it's a video that I wanted to make. Whereas if I made a video that I didn't want to make and it underperforms, it makes me feel really, really crappy. And that's definitely happened a lot of times last year. So this year, it's just like, yeah, well, I did tie with an integration of some sort for a sponsor or for a brand, and it did underperform, but, I haven't, gotten any sort of talk or any sort of lecture or anything like that. There wasn't anything else. I felt like if it did happen, and I'm sure it did, it was just like, oh, if you could just briefly mention us again in a different video, that that'd be great. There wasn't any sort of like consequences or any sort of reprimanding. I keep making it sound like they're above us. They're definitely not above us. It's definitely more of a partnership.
I mean, if I think if you look at it a certain way, I mean, for them, it's just a part of their advertising budget too. At the end of the day,
yeah.
I mean, it's really just part of their business, right? So they're just taking that advertising budget into consideration, and it's going to be hit and miss. It won't be. I would assume it's not going to be perfect for everybody, but obviously what I did was horrible in that regards. But about just like dropping the ball on the company. But yeah, I would imagine, it's just part of their advertisement thing. And I kind of wish I kind of thought of it that way and not to stress out too much. It's like, hey, if I hit it, I hit the mark. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
And, they either like you for who you are and what you can provide for them and the potential you have, or just kind of skip it. So.
Yeah. I had a friend that was sort of telling me the same thing. He's in the industry and he's just like, I tell him the same concern. I'm just like, dude, what if I don't hit the numbers? Like, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to like do bad, I don't want to do bad by anybody. And he's like, who cares? Like, well, number one, the brand chose you for a reason. They definitely, like you said, like they like what you do. They took a risk on you, so it's partially on them if you don't do well because they took a chance on you. It's up to sort of the brand to do their due diligence to research and make sure that you are someone that kind of fits their advertising. And I was like, okay, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So I guess with these fresh pair of glasses for us, maybe we can, at least I'm trying to approach it differently, and I've been feeling a lot better in that regards. But I don't know about you. Would you consider taking on another brand deal or sponsorship on your end?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily against it at all. I'm not opposed to it. I think for me, I need to be in the right mindset when I start doing those things again, that I either have a better grip of what I'm doing or I have a pretty good solid foundation of how I want to approach like the future of my channel in terms of the content again. Yeah. That's the thing that I'm more focused on. I definitely want to avoid any type of brand deals that I would rather prefer brand deals that don't have anything to do with the subject matter that I'm covering, though.
That makes sense.
For example, you're right. Like, for example, like a product placement instead. Is that how you would call it? Like if the company's asking you to make a video specifically for their product or something like that.
Yeah, I call that a
much more
product feature.
Difficult.
Yeah, I call that like a product feature. Yeah.
And so I think the product the integration stuff seems fine as long as you just, and then like I said, as long as I keep that mindset of the fact that companies are just reaching out to you and they need you to some degree more than they need, there's just a partnership that has to go on with that, regardless of how well you perform.
Yeah.
And I guess if I can keep that, but I don't know, we'll see. We will see. For me, I'm just still relaxing and not overly thinking the whole YouTube thing now.
Well, just kind of going back to what you said about how you have to just kind of solely focus on one thing, right? So you're just trying to wrap up the school year right now with what you need to do before you consider maybe trying to start up the whole YouTube thing again, right? Going full force at it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When I was doing, like I said, when I was doing really well with YouTube, I had a singular focus, and it was just YouTube.
Yeah.
When my mind was just focused on YouTube, and I was ignoring everything else, like all my other things I was supposed to be doing, I was kind of not doing my best job, like at work or whatever. Yeah. I was performing at a high level. Like I was on the ball, man. It was just like, I could see, it was like some Matrix crap, man. It's like when it's that whole bullet time thing, man. Everything was in slow motion. Like I could see the finish line. I could see the 100,000 subscribers. I could see, like I saw, was it 2017 summer, Jason? Like I knew that the rate that I was going at, I could quit my job. Like I could make it a career. Like I saw it. I saw it through that, and I was like, it's possible. And it was a weird situation, weird time, but I was hauling one video a day, and like I was telling you, I was waking up like at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, filming or whatever, squeezing that in between whatever I was supposed to be doing, and I was having a great time because I could see the finish line, where I can see the peak of that mountain, that hill, and I was like, okay, I just got to keep on this trajectory, and I can beat Jason Vong's subscriber numbers, and then It's like during that time you were catching up to me, and I was like, okay, I just gotta keep up this pacing, and then I'll be okay. You know, I'll get over that hill, and then.
I remember that. Yeah, like you were miles ahead of me in terms of subscriber count, and it was just like always trying to like making sure you're 5 steps ahead of me, and I'm just like trying to catch. I'm just like, but you know that was a great motivator. We can get into that later, but that was a great motivator for I guess the both of us when it came to making the YouTube stuff. But just to kind of stay on course, you know, it definitely. I can feel it on my end too when you were saying you came so close to sort of making the whole YouTube thing your career. We had talks, we had plans. You were at least discussing about your plans about, you know, thinking about creating courses or just kind of sort of renting out an apartment in, you know, LA for the summer just to like make content.
Even New York. Remember when we were in New York? I was like, yeah, just move to New York for a year and just go for it, you know.
The hustle and bustle, yeah. So what changed? What ultimately pulled you away from YouTube for making this
reality.
a career? Dang.
I'm trying to remember. Like I was going so well. It was just work. That's it. Yeah. That's what caused the roadblock. But like I was saying, I felt the exhilaration. I felt the adrenaline. It was just like this really great feeling to know that all the hard work that you've been putting into this time was actually starting to pay dividends. Like busting your ass all this time, you know, you start feeling it. And you start feeling that momentum, and you're like, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. But I think, you know, keeping going, I think might be a problem too. You know, just trying to push it. But I think if I was just doing the YouTube thing, I would have been fine. I would have pulled through. But it's okay. I mean, I gave it a shot. I gave it a shot.
I mean, I guess you could sort of like look at what's happened to me as sort of like what could have been for you as well, because I feel like our paths were very similar in a sense, except, you know, obviously you had your teaching job, your full-time job. But if you were to cross that line at that point in time, you know, you would have been just creating more videos. You would have obviously had all the sponsorships, and I think you would have done, you know, well for yourself.
I wouldn't have had no choice. Like I wouldn't have a choice, right? It would have been a fight or flight mode kind of thing. Like I had to do something, right? And and then you were doing really well for yourself, and that helped motivate me too. That was that big motivation during that time. And I was, like I said, I felt like the pieces were starting to kind of fit in. They were all kind of fitting in and everything. And I was like, yes, this is really working out. This is going somewhere.
But, you know, I'm happy to hear at least you're not stressed anymore. I know you were kind of talking about, you brought it up in your video, you're just like, you know, because you actually kind of put the whole YouTube thing on an indefinite pause, that you were a lot more focused on your work, and it was just more manageable stress. And the fact that you're you know, you're actually taking photos just for the sake of taking photos instead of worrying about a review aspect, you know, you felt a lot better essentially. And yeah. I'm kind of striving for that too, you know. I'm just like, for me, like you were saying, having to focus on one thing, it just helps a lot. I mean, I guess for me in a sort of a micro level on my end, I'm always really, like I tell you, I have 4 videos to do, like almost every month, right? And if I take on anything, it's just extra videos, right? I have a bad habit of trying to do 2 to 3 videos at the same time.
Right,
Like, oh, okay, I gotta write a script for 2 or 3 of these videos. I can only shoot on Wednesday or something. I gotta bring this lens and this lens. Oh, I gotta test this camera out. Oh, I gotta, like, you know, make an editing tutorial. It's like trying to like do all that at the same time. And what ends up always happening is I get stressed, things just fall apart. I just start lagging. And what's worse is, I tell you, I'm not a procrastinator, right? And I always get things done on time. It sort of gets to the point where I am procrastinating. Like I wait till like the very end, literally 2 days before the deadline, just to get things done. But that's my problem. It's just like there's so much other things to do that I just sort of get I just sort of like get, crippled.
But you know, something I wanted to ask, it's like it just never ends though.
It never ends. No.
I feel that feels I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I could see it being something worth chasing, and there's always a hill to climb, and there's always progress, and that's what makes it great. It's like a game. You know, I think that's kind of how I was viewing it, right? Just like an RPG or something. You're just seeing the numbers grow. You're seeing that growth. You're like, hey, my character's leveling up. That's great. You know, the character keeps leveling up and leveling up. And you know that you're putting in the work and it's paying dividends. Like you're seeing the rewards of your efforts.
That's the most hilarious thing you brought that up, because I was literally telling Vivian the other night, I was like, I think the reason why I'm so obsessed with World of Warcraft right now is because there is some things that I can achieve, and there's like dopamine points, you know. It's just like I get to the max level, I level my crafting, or you know, I go to a dungeon, I get my item. There's like a definitive end, and I know that's huge progress. But when it comes to like nowadays, when it comes to making like a YouTube video, I'm just like, I don't know where this is going. What is this netting me right now?
You just bringing up an interesting point. It's about the whole dopamine and that incentive that you're getting from it. Are you still getting that rush?
Not anymore.
The same rush. See, there you go. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's not the same feeling like when you were getting your 7200. And I was mad that you got yours first, and I was like, why don't I have my 7200 that I ordered? And that rush, it's just not the same anymore. It's just not the same feeling anymore. And that's with anything, I would imagine. I mean, it's not anything different than anything else in life. I mean, it kind of runs its course. So I just started hitting that. I guess for me, I hit it. I don't know if you were hitting it the same time I was, but I felt like I hit that thing late 2018, I think, was when I started having issues with stuff. 2018, late 2018. No.
Yeah,
2019. I was on the up and up, Jason. We were doing. Remember, we did the Sony 6400 came out early 2019. I was still on the up and up, and then I think at that point I crashed because then we did the WPPI. We went out to Vegas. I was there for like a day and a half. Then I drove back. And after that was it. I think that's what probably broke me. I wonder if it was Vegas that broke me.
How
Probably.
so?
It was that day. I don't know if you remember, but I didn't even rest. I slept for like an hour in the room. And then I drove back.
And you drove back. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. When I was driving, I almost didn't make it back like on time. Like I was looking at the clock and I was falling asleep, pulled over, propped in like a couple of energy drinks, and then kept driving. And yeah, it was a rough time. And I think that whole experience I wouldn't say that was like the thing that kind of affected me. It was just more I guess I was trying to think things through, like, man, is this really what I want? Like I can't do both. It's right there. I guess that feeling of I can't be these two different people. I can either do one or the other really, really well, or both are going to suffer. And that's exactly now, I didn't want like the school stuff to suffer, but at the same time, like I began to suffer because of it. Like for me personally as a human being, I was suffering mentally because of all that, right? Yeah. Like I was still able to do the work and all that stuff. It was more like a mental thing, like mental deterioration from having to try and balance two things out. But yeah, so I guess it was 2019 then. Yeah, I was on the up and up. And then 2019, that kind of early 2019, that's I guess when it started kind of going downhill in terms of, it feels like a long time ago, but I guess it wasn't that long ago.
It definitely wasn't. Yeah, I think then you and I probably felt it at the same time then. Because I think right when we stopped doing Monday Live, I guess that's when we both kind of felt something was off, right? I mean, it's not the truth. I mean, like, if you're feeling it when the 6400 was launched, I think that was the time when the 135 GM
I'll be honest with you, when the 6400 was out, and I was on that boat, and I was on that trip with everybody, I was realizing, holy crap, everyone's on their game here, you know? I was just like, it was a wake-up call, and I was just like, holy crap, and everyone here is doing their thing, and I was like, what am I doing here?
Okay. So really quickly, you're referencing our little Catalina trip that Sony got us out, where there's a bunch of other YouTube creators. we're at, right? Is that
Right,
what you were
right.
talking about? Okay.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
that's what I'm referencing. And everyone's out there, and I'm seeing everyone hustling. They're busting out their cameras, they're busting out their like I brought my gear too,
Yeah.
but it was very interesting to see all of that unfold. At the same time, though, I could feel that pressure, that sense of urgency.
Yeah.
I remember too when as soon as they handed out the cameras and everything, it's like everyone's like go 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 go. It was like, what is this? Is this a contest or something? Like, what's going on here? I
Yeah.
still didn't feel it then completely. I still had a blast. I still enjoyed it. It was still stressful in the sense that I knew that after I was done with the trip, I'd be going straight back to work. So that was the only downside. Like, literally after that day was over, I drove straight to work the next morning. So I couldn't really just enjoy the timing of everything, or just kind of enjoy the event as much as I wanted to.
It's very different. I would say. I guess that's like one of the more, I guess, fun. I mean, I didn't do much, but it was definitely one of the more fun ones that I've been on because, I remember you were there, Kitty was there, Sydney was there. Like a lot of my friends were there,
Right, right.
and it's different from a lot of the press events that I've attended. Like everyone is just very chill and relaxed at press events. Sort of like the older crowd, they're like, whatever, we'll get to it. We'll shoot it tomorrow or something like that. No one's in a rush to really do anything. But there was a stark contrast when it comes to like the younger creators, where it's like everyone got the camera, bolted out the door. Granted, we were stuck in a ship for like at least an hour before we got to the island, but you can feel the tension. It was just like, all right, we got to go this, do that, and it's.
Honestly,
it
it was
wild.
I feel like the tension really wasn't there. It's like something you created in your mind.
All the time.
It's like a tension you're creating, you're self-creating this tension that really doesn't exist because everyone has their own viewers.
Yeah.
And like everyone has their own viewing base. Like they're gonna watch their content for who they are, but at the same time, you feel that rush, you feel that urgency, which is both good and bad. Like there's a positive to it. It's like, okay, cool. I'm here with other creators. I want to go ahead and make something interesting with the product. That kind of enthusiasm was there too.
Yeah. No,
but
that's funny. That's funny you brought that up because for the longest time I couldn't separate that from myself. It was just like I always fail to see that people are watching me and for my opinion. Right? It sounds very narcissistic to say, but it's the truth. At the end of the day, there's so many of us out there making content, but people would go to you for a certain sort of, your take and your spin on it, and people will come to me for, my take on it. But for the longest time, I'm always like, new cameras out. I got to be the first one to get on this, got to get that information out. Got to be the first one to upload the video. Got to be the first one to find out about everything. And, that ultimately led to my downfall. I was just like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing the chase? Why am I on the ground running? I kind of had to reflect on that. I'm just like, maybe I don't have to be the first one to put out the video. Maybe I don't have to be the one that gives all the information. Maybe I should just talk about what is interesting about this product to me. That sort of thing. So for the longest time, I just kind of had to separate that. But the fact that you bring up the other YouTube creators and, just seeing there and everyone hustling. Did you ever felt like there was a huge competition? You ever feel like you were competing with anybody and you were just like jealous in any way?
Just Jason Vong and SIDNEY DIONGZON. I'm just kidding. No, no, there wasn't anything at that point, to be honest, like at that stage, Jason, like I didn't care.
Okay.
I think 2017 me was like, yes,
Okay.
Jason Vong is on the radar.
Are you being serious though?
I'm being completely serious.
Okay. Okay.
But that was only 2017.
But was it
probably early?
Was it when we were doing Monday Live, or this is pre-Monday Live?
I think we start Monday Live in late 2017.
Something like that. Okay, so you're saying like early 2017. That makes a lot of sense. If that's the case.
Like I think 2017, I was very focused on like the landscape of who you're going against and who's there. Like I was concerned about in the beginning because I needed like an incentive to want to chase something, compete with.
Yeah.
But I think that was just early then. I think as soon as 2018 was rolling around, I just kind of stopped really caring. I guess towards the end of 2018 and moving on to 2019, I just didn't care as much anymore. It just wasn't a big thing. But at the same time, Jason, the motivation died too. You see, there was a. It's a weird thing. I think the urgency, the competition was a great driving force, and I love competition. I'm assuming you love it too, to some degree. I mean, you must enjoy some aspect of it. Am I wrong, or am I assuming something? You're a competitive. Would you consider yourself a competitive person?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely not as, like great, but yeah, I mean, I guess innately anyone is a little bit competitive, and I would say I am competitive in some regards, yes.
Okay. Unless you want to be like Michael Jordan level of competitiveness.
No, I mean,
and then just start.
I feel like at some point, I'm the type of person that's like, yeah, I'm competitive. I'm gonna like go like dominate. And then after a while, it just sort of fizzles out for me. That's the kind of person that I am. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I mean, the thing too is that once you get to a pinnacle, I mean, there's always someone around the corner.
Yeah,
it's like no matter how hard you push, there's always something around the corner, and they'll just get you by surprise.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't worth thinking about constantly.
Yeah, it's so toxic, and the reason why I brought it up, and I kind of just want to hear from you if you ever felt that way, is because all throughout 2018, all throughout 2019, what was the other external stress factor for me wasn't just making the views, making the brands happy, but also competition. Like you were asking me if I was a competitive person, and yeah, at the end of the day, it's like I saw you as a competition, but obviously once we started doing Monday Live, it was like, sort of like a more of a healthy competition, right? It's just like,
it was just it was a fun thing to bring up. It was just a fun thing to poke at.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying it was more like we're all trying to go in the same direction together.
Yeah.
It wasn't
I like that. And I truly did. But when it comes to like a different creator, I'm gonna be completely honest here. Like it was toxic. It was unhealthy because I also saw Sydney as like competition. Sydney DIONGZON. I'm just like, it got to the point where I think he was doing super well, so well. And I think he hit a certain milestone before we did, and I'm just like, how the hell did this happen? And I had to like kind of like mute his posts and mute his videos because I'm just like, I can't look at this. I'm like feeling so crappy about myself that someone else who's working in the same related kind of content in the feud is doing so much better than I am. I couldn't take it. And it's not just like Sydney too, but there's like so many like other creators that made me feel this way. It was hard on me. It was really hard on me to also have that stress lingering in the back of my mind. But this year, just sort of like in 2020, I sort of made it a goal where I'm just like, you know what? I don't really care anymore. Like, I don't want to see my friends as like a toxic competition. I'd rather us sort of like be in a more healthy sort of competition. Like the type of motivation that we had for each other was just like, oh man, Daddy, oh look at you, I'm catching up, buddy. I don't want to be like, what the, why is this person beating me? Like, it was just so toxic. It was just, I hated that about myself. I hated feeling jealous, and I hated not being fully happy for, my friend's success. Now I'm just like, I'm trying to view it more positively. I'm just like, you know what? Good on this person, good on City for finally hitting 100K, good on this person for like getting the views, good on POTATOJET for 500,000 subs. Freaking POTATOJET. Oh, that kind of deal.
But they work for it, right? They work for it. They found something that worked, and that's how they're pushing through. I know that I have felt those things before, and I try to let things go and not think about it too much. But completely agree.
Press A to let go. Press A to let go.
I felt those things too. Like I said, when things were in the heat of competition and you're trying to climb those numbers. Yeah. But what's great, the thing, and I think we've talked about in the past, was that the fact that there are so many more people that are interested in the particular topic area is not a bad thing. So let's say POTATOJET gets 500,000 subscribers or something, if he's not already at that point, right? That means there's 500,000 people that are interested in similar content to what you're doing. So for you, it's more just like, well, at some point, I'm gonna get some of those people to join my particular channel at some point. So I started to change my perception. Like even when Jared Polin was like climbing up the hill, or even Tony and Chelsea Northrup when they were hitting that 1 million mark, I was like, wow, we finally have a channel other than Digital Rev that hit 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
They literally broke a barrier to let you know that you can do this. And it was like I always viewed him as a competition, even though I would never amount to that many subscribers, right? I was like, oh God, I'll never catch up to Jared Pullen. Oh God, I'll never catch up to Tony and Chelsea Northrup. But in my head, I was like, well, that's so many more subscribers that are into photography that you could reach to. You know, there's more people out there now than there's ever been that's been interested in this topic. And they did the groundwork to get them to subscribe to something. Because before then, the way I saw it, there were people that watched videos, but they never bothered subscribing. So you never knew if they watched your video or not. But they were able to convince that many people to hit the subscribe button. Meaning, you know, there's other people. They're probably they might be willing to hit subscribe on your video too. So
That's interesting.
If I just keep it in that perspective, I think, you know, it's a positive thing, and it just keeps you in the mindset of like, it's great there's people succeeding on the platform. It just means that the doors are wide open and there's a lot of opportunity. You just have to chase it. You really do still have to chase it, but it comforts me knowing that that's also an option that you can still pull in those people in too. It's not a one-way street.
That's good. I mean, like the fact that you were able to sort of see that really quickly. It's awesome. You know, like for me, I've never really saw Jared Polin or like Tony and Chelsea as competition. You know, I'm just like, these were the greats. You know, these are these are like our sort of like our forefathers and foremothers of the whole photography and the videography game. You know, like I look up to them. I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. But I've never, like you said, I didn't really see it the way that you saw it. It was just more like the way that I saw it was like, there are so many of these different channels, but I have to remember, not everybody watches the same channel. They're subscribing for the different personalities and the different takes. That's sort of, for me, clicked for me as to like, okay, there's so many of us out there, but as long as they're not confusing me with POTATOJET or that one camera guy, they know that I'm someone different. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, yeah, it's just sort of like putting your own unique spin into it. And that's what people are going to be coming back for. So I'm always someone that's just like, okay, my edge is that I'm the guy that's talking about Sony. You come to me for the Sony stuff. You go to like people like Peter McKinnon for the Canon stuff. And it's just
Jason,
finding
there's
that
just so much more people there now.
Yeah, there's so much more.
It's insane, Jason. It's insane from 2017 to now. The amount of people that are now talking about Sony,
it's exponential.
Insane. It's insane. And anything and everything I see, everyone's using a Sony camera to film their videos. It doesn't even have, they're not even a camera channel. They're all using Sonys.
Yeah,
a lot of them are, or Panasonics, but for the most part, Sonys.
It's wild. It is incredibly wild. I feel like you have to sort of evolve from your content, right?
Yep.
Like I don't know about you, but I feel like the whole review genre is kind of, it's not the same anymore. You can't just talk about specs. You got to be doing something different. And I feel like nowadays people are really enjoying the sort of more experienced type of videos rather than just you literally sitting in front of your desk and just talking about the camera. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's definitely a different landscape, and you see that from Jared Polin, Tony and Chelsea. You see it from these guys. They're kind of doing the same thing, and that's their approach. And then you and I have our own approach when it comes to reviews, and now there's like a separate way of talking about gear and reviewing gear and just YouTube in general. So I feel like I'm just trying to evolve my content right now, just making it more personality based rather than technical and review based.
I feel that for me, it's more going into the future. It's just evolving and also sustainability. What's sustainable? Yeah. What can you keep on doing? And that's why you see a lot of people devolve into podcasts or something like that, because they realize, or sit down environments because they realize it's something easy they can do to keep the cog, the YouTube wheels going. In terms of content, it was just like, who was it? Niga Higa. They used to do
Yeah.
the sketches, and he evolved into doing podcasts, and they cut back on the actual sketches because they realized they would spend a whole week making a sketch, but it wouldn't generate the same revenue or viewership that a podcast would do, for example. And they could
Yeah.
knock out a few podcasts versus just one. So I think, to be honest with you, Jason, I'll be honest, I think within like 3 to 5 years, everything's going to be a podcast. I think literally, because you know what? AirPods, I feel like wireless devices like these is the root cause of that. I literally will look for things to listen to. Like I'm listening about new video games, computer stuff. I listen for that kind of stuff on YouTube more than anything else because I can play it on my ears and then I just like listen to it and I'm just doing something else.
I absolutely agree. I like literally right when I'm setting up for this podcast, I'm listening to another podcast or I'm listening to music because it's so easy to just pop in your ear, right? And it's funny you brought up Niga Higa because I literally put up one of his podcasts just to like kind of understand what he was what they're going through or like what it sounds like, what kind of topics they're talking about. Funny enough, they were talking about brand deals on their first video. But yeah, I mean, I was doing my research on podcasting and I was watching a video from, I think, Shelby Church. And essentially what she was saying was if you run like one ad or some sort of like brand deal or whatever on a podcast and your podcast gets like at least 50,000 downloads, that's $1,000 right there. You run 2 of those, that's $2,000 right there. And, you know, obviously that's just like sort of like the base minimum. And again, going back to what you said, either making your usual videos that take days to make and make that same amount of money versus just sitting down every day, 1 hour, minimal editing, and still make the same amount. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? And I'm not going to lie, if this, whatever it is that we're doing right now, takes off, that's a win-win for everybody, right? It's less stressful for you, and we're just having fun. It's just more of a casual environment, and it's easy to produce. But I don't know, you know.
That's just my gut feeling. Because I think everyone, what was it? Even Gary Vee talked about that too. At some point, I think everyone was going into the whole, people want wireless things. Now they can do 2 things at once.
Yeah.
So just something to kind of do in the back burner while they can wash dishes or take care of some other thing they're supposed to be doing, or they're on a drive or something like that. I don't listen to as much music as much as I used to. I just listen to more podcasts for me. This is me personally, though. I still listen to music, but in general, I listen to more just like podcasts or videos that have a lot more audio components than visual. So for me, it's like there are YouTube, because I have the YouTube Red thing option. So I just pulled the video up and then I listen to that. So but that's weird. I'm specifically looking for videos where there's no visual aids. Like the visual is not going to impact me if I don't see the visuals.
Yeah.
It's a very, and then the ones, again, I don't know if we talked about that either, but once I know there's a visual, I feel like for me, it feels like there's a little bit more work I have to do. Now I got to sit down. Like there's there's these food reviewers I watch. And now it's like, okay, crap, now I got to sit down. Like Mikey Chan, if you've ever seen some of these food travel vlog people, now I got to sit down and watch the video because I need to see the visual with the food that they're talking about. That's important. Versus, someone talking about the Sony leaks, or the Unreal Engine 5, or all this other stuff that I'm into or whatever. And I don't know if I don't think I'm the only one that's starting to feel that way, though. Maybe my age group's starting to feel that way a little bit. I don't know if that's the case for everybody. Maybe this newer generation of kids, the teens, they're into something else. They're into that Snapchat video or whatever. But I don't know. That's the vibe I feel in terms of my impression.
No, I mean the fact that you're saying that there's so much more podcasts now. There's so many of them out there. Everyone is probably feeling the exact same way we are, and I think you're right in regards because of the whole wireless thing. It just makes it so easy. I mean, I myself, I used to listen to podcasts, a lot of podcasts, when I make the drive to Hollywood when I used to work at a production company out there. But I don't drive. It's not that I don't drive anymore, but I don't make that commute anymore, so it's hard for me to like listen to long podcasts. But you're right. Nowadays, because I can just be separated from my devices and just have my headphones on, I can set up the shoot while listening to a podcast. I can do minimal editing without maybe color grading or something like that, and just leave a podcast on. It's just that easy. So podcast, man, podcast is the way to go.
I would
That's
say
why we're doing it.
I would say you definitely want a component like that, though. You get me? Like whatever the hybrid, you want to have a hybrid.
Yeah.
But I think the podcasting, it needs to be anchored. Granted, I never know what happened to Anchor anymore, but
They're still around. They're still around.
It's still around.
Yeah.
But I'm being serious. Like if you think about it, it's like you definitely want that. You want that there because that's something that it's going in that direction. Whether slowly or surely, it's making its way there. The fact that everyone is doing a freaking podcast. Like I'm listening to like ESPN hosts or whatever, these sports hosts, like everyone's doing it. Even athletes are doing it. Like what? Like everyone's literally doing the podcasting now. Like everyone's into it now. So if everyone's doing it, there's something there. And I don't know, obviously there's going to be oversaturation, but you definitely want to get your claws in there.
Yeah.
What sucks is that we did slow down on that, but thinking in hindsight, right? In hindsight, I'm like, God damn, if we just kept it up, it would be a different, it'd be a different situation then. If we had just kind of evolved into something different. But I just see it now every day. It's just podcasts where, like I said, I'm just looking for content I can just listen to, and it's I don't know,
trying.
for better or for worse.
We're trying, Danny. I mean, like, I really felt like we did the right move by, like, kind of cutting the ties to Monday Live, because I don't know if you noticed, but we literally when we came back, we did the same thing. It's the same format. And I felt like you said, had we actually took it off, we took off with it when we were still doing it, and maybe did something like this, things could have ended up differently. And I think, it's a good thing that we're trying right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's all there's no time machine.
I wish there was, man. I wish there was.
Well, then everyone else would have a time machine, Jason, and nothing would ever get done.
True. Everyone will be rewriting their past.
Yeah, everyone will be rewriting their past, and SIDNEY DIONGZON would have 2 million subscribers, and you'd be at 100,000. You'd never be.
Here, that's an okay timeline, I guess. That's an okay timeline I can live with. Just don't forget about me, Sydney, when you have 2 million.
Oh, those are good times. Those are good times.
Good times.
It's just evolving from all of this. The end game. What is the end game of all of this? I know we talked about this at some point, was if you weren't doing camera-related content, where do you see your YouTube channel going if you weren't so focused on camera-related materials?
I would have probably found something else. I probably would have tried the whole video games thing, right? Like sometimes, you're always like, the grass is greener on the other side. What if I just talked about video games? That seems like it's easy, you don't have to shoot epic B-roll for that. You just just start talking about video games. You just like, you don't have to go shoot your own B-roll. You got the B-roll by playing the games, and you just splice it in whenever you need to talk about it. Done, easy, bada bing, bada boom.
But you know what? You could be doing epic B-roll for the gaming, and you'd be the first one.
Damn. Selling
Imagine
ideas
that.
here.
You'd be a pioneer in bringing in your camera. Well, actually, Matt Workman sort of does that, right? He does like the video game cinema.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like nowadays you have to be multi-talented, right? Now you can't just have one shtick. You have to have two shticks. You just got to be like bringing that sort of skill into maybe the topics that you're talking about. Like you said, epic B-roll video games in that regards, just to kind of make you stand out, right? You got to make yourself stand out, whether it be visually or, the type of content you make. But you got to be different in some regards and aspect.
But everyone's bringing their A game, man. It's no joke anymore. And this was something I always thought was going to happen a long time ago. Was in the infancy of YouTube, it was pretty easy to kind of get your foot in the ground. But after a while, everyone kept stepping it up. Every month or so, you get more and more people joining the platform, and they were just doing something better, something different, and they were evolving constantly. I remember when I was doing the sneaker YouTube channel with my brother, we weren't even using were we using a DSLR? No, I bought a DSLR because of the YouTube channel, the T2i, and I didn't know how to use a camera at all. it was on auto when we were making, I think, our YouTube channel. It was on auto for the longest time. And I think we also had that buzzing noise. You know that buzzing noise everyone always had back in the day with YouTube?
The crappy preamps, yeah.
Yeah, or just not the preamps, but the lens focusing.
Oh, okay.
But it was the driving force. Because like I said, at that time, no one was using a DSLR to film their sneaker videos. And this was 2010. And I was telling my brother, look, man, let's just do this. Let's just try to step up the quality. Let me throw in this B-roll. And that's how I got into the whole B-roll game, you know? Like, dude, we'll do some cool angles with the sneakers. We'll do some cool rotations and all that stuff. And people were just, like, eating it up. They were eating it up in terms of, like, they would always talk about the camera. Why is it that the depth of field or what have you? And it was a very, very interesting, but everyone quickly caught up, you know, in a matter of time. Everyone kind of sped up. And oh crap, was that 2010? That had to be 2013, 2012. No, 2012. Couldn't have been 2010. 2012. But yeah, it shot up so fast. Like everything, just like the level, everyone's game, everyone is on point. Everyone can get a really nice camera at this point at an affordable price point now, that you just have to be constantly on it. Man,
yeah.
it is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true. I was just listening to funny enough, MKBHD's podcast. He literally said the same thing. It's just like everyone is a tech channel. Everyone has a tech channel. Everyone's doing reviewing tech. But for him, he's like, if I can do one thing that separates me from everybody else, then, you know, he wins, obviously, right? It's just like having that best overhead shot, having that robotic arm to shoot it. That's his thing. That's just thing. No one can replicate that. You can do something that no one can replicate, you win. You know, that's your thing.
I feel like that's what drives him a little bit too. It helps him.
Yeah.
That chase.
I'm upset right now because I'm just like, what is my thing? What is my robotic arm? What is my top down shot? What is it that I'm doing that no one else can replicate?
If you don't know me already, I go by Jason Vong.
But yeah, what is my thing? So that's something that I'm trying to figure out right now. I think like all through this conversation that we're having, so it was sort of like a breaking point for me. It was just being stressed out about all these things, stressed out about the dumbest things, competition with others, making sure I'm on top of the numbers for the brands and whatnots. And I'm tired of it, man. I'm done. I'm honestly like so tired of it that I just want to make the videos that I want to make, and I just want to, you know, just do my spin. Just do my spin on things. No epic B-roll, none of the fancy stuff. I want people who are watching my stuff to just feel like I'm not watching a SIDNEY DIONGZON video. I'm not watching a POTATOJET video. I'm not watching a Peter McKinnon video. There's like visually, there's nothing similar to that. It's just what you're getting is something uniquely different, and that's what I'm hammering on. And his personality, and it's just playing it up.
Gotta make some coffee in the video, man. Get some epic B-roll coffee grinding and
genius. I would do that.
I think everyone's been doing that, you know. At some point, they, you know, the coffee grinding and all that good stuff. Jason, I asked you this before. I don't know if I recall the answer, but what is the end goal?
What's your 5-year
plan? It's a tough question. No. It's not even a 5-year plan. Like, is your end goal to be successful? It's a tough question because it's like, well, maybe it's not. I'm assuming that. But is it the wealth aspect? Like, what is it for you? Like, I'll say, I mean, for me, there's a monetary aspect to it. I'll just, you know, on my end, like, I wanted to be successful because there was obviously, first off, I needed to find a livelihood in it. If I was going to do the YouTube full time, like, I was seeing the potential for this to be a livelihood of some sort in order to earn income and revenue or money. And I could see it grow and escalate, right? At the time, it was growing. But for you, what is it for you at the end? Is it just like, is it the monetary aspect of it? Is it the clout? Like, what is the end goal for you? Are you wanting to be the definitive, I am Jason Vong, Sony guy? Like, what is that picture in your 5-year plan? You know, I think it was funny that I don't think people realize what this whole 5-year joke is, but
we probably have to explain it on a different day. But
yeah, we'll explain it some.
I guess this would be a pretty good like stopping point, but
Okay.
this just goes back to what I was saying. It's like all this rush, all this chase, all this competition about competing with other YouTubers. What exactly is my goal out of all this? Is it to be the best? If it's not to be the best, then I'm wasting my time thinking about all these competition or like, fabricating all this, toxic thoughts in my head for no reason. I realized that. I was just like, what is it exactly that I'm competing for, and why am I competing against these people? And I couldn't answer that question, Danny. I couldn't answer that question. I'm like, I don't know. Why am I working so hard for? What is it that I want to do? And to be completely honest with you, I don't really have an overall goal as of right now. I used to beat myself up about it. I'm just like, why is it that I don't have an overall goal? What is it? What is it? Why is it? Why do I have it? And I realized I have like little mini goals. And to be completely honest with you, I've hit all my mini goals in my life. Like meeting some of my favorite musicians from Japan. That's one of them. And to have some small level amount of fame, which is on YouTube. 200,000 subscribers. I never thought about that. And literally, sometimes when I travel, when I go out, and just people's like, hey, Jason Vong, I love your videos, man, and you really inspired me to, create content or make videos or shoot this photo, and I won some awards. That makes me feel really happy. At the end of the day, it's like, wow, all these little goals I set for myself. And I even have my own little office space right now. All these little goals that I'm hitting, like I'm pretty content. If I were to ask if you asked me 10 years ago that this would be the point that I would hit in my life, I would be super ecstatic about it. I'm just like, dude, this is it. I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream right now. So for me, just all this stress, I just have to go back and just try to tell myself like I'm living the dream. This is literally the best thing that could happen to me, and I'm living it right now. So in terms of my overall end game goal, I don't know what it is, but what I can tell you is if I can live comfortably and not have to worry about money, and I can just buy what I want but what I need, then it's good enough for me.
All right.
And it's good enough for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, I think that's what I started thinking about too. It's just like what's comfortable enough in terms of what you need in life and what's okay,
Yeah.
In my head I was like, oh, am I going to be like a millionaire, multimillionaire? And then I started realizing I was noticing that I don't know if you heard the phrase right. The more money doesn't necessarily bring you more happiness, but it can also bring you more stress too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you might have heard something like that too. And
Yep.
it kind of hit that whole concept of me trying to do my day job and do the YouTube thing at the same time and trying to chase this additional income source and all this jazz. And I was like, yeah, I'm making more money, but it's definitely adding more stress. And I was like, this is not equating to happiness. And then, I could be okay. I could be fine with buying a new camera once in a while or a new lens or something like that, or renting it out. I don't have to spend a lot of money to do that. Like I have money here and there, saved up, and I can make a little bit of income from doing the YouTube stuff and just keep doing this as the hobby and passion that I've always wanted it to be as, and dial it back and not make it so much for me personally as like a career option, I think was something I was chasing. But this whole aspect of, do you need all this money in the world to make you happy, or do you just need enough that like you said, to be comfortable about everything and, get the thing here or there that you might need or want and not have to struggle to get it necessarily would be a nice goal to achieve. But I feel like I'm not in a point like right now personally where I feel like I'm struggling in any way. Like I'm okay. Like nothing's bothering me. Like I feel pretty comfortable right now, like I'm okay. So, and I'm very fortunate. I just want to stress that whoever's listening to this, I know we're struggling. We're going through this really rough time right now in the world. We haven't even mentioned that at all in this podcast, but the world is in a really shake up right now. People are it's rough economically, right? But I'm doing just fine. Now, if something changes, I think I can weather the storm. I'm perfectly fine, and I'm grateful for that. So, but yeah, I think by changing the perspective and not making that the end goal, like just to be wealthy or to have X number of dollars or something like that to be the end goal or something like that in my head, I think that's okay. And having a little bit of that fame, I guess, is cool too. It's not that's just, it's fine. Not some obsessive one where someone's stalking you or something, or following you to a restaurant. One last thing though, before we wrap up, I guess, is if you were able to solve the stress factor that you had to deal with, that would solve a lot of your problems, wouldn't it? Just ease up the stress. I'm not saying get rid of all the stress, but just lighten that load.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That's something that I'm working on, and I'm continually struggling with. To say the least. It's just, it's all the mental. It's all in the mind, right? It's always just like putting your mental mind at ease. That's the biggest thing. Like you said, you can never get rid of the stress. But if I can find some ways to make it easier for myself, whether it's just be like making sure the room is tidy, or making sure I'm just, on top of communications, just trying to make sure that, I'm at least keeping myself on a smooth path, then, I can, like you said, brave the storm, widow the storm, whatever you're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Well, there you go. Podcast season 3. What is this? What season is this?
I don't even know anymore. Well, I don't even know what this is called. But
the offline podcast.
The offline podcast. The checked out podcast.
Brought to you by NordVPN.
Sponsor us, Nord. Please sponsor us. Someone. Let's keep it going for us.